Hello Internet, welcome to Panic TV. In this video, we are checking out top 10 Ed and Lorraine Warren scariest discoveries. Number 10. The Connecticut Poltergeist. In 1974, Ed and Lorraine were investigating the haunting of a Connecticut home. This haunting was later the basis for the movie The Haunting in Connecticut. Ed Warren says that this is one of the most compelling pieces of evidence for poltergeist activity caught on camera. The family were being plagued by ghosts' activity and wanted help, so they called the demonologists. This is what happens when he asked, "Who's there?"
One knock for yes, two for no. Are you a man? Are you a boy?
Then, this is what happens when he asked if the spirit wants the family to leave.
You want the people in this house to move? One knock for yes, two for no. Yes.
The Warrens also recorded this footage.
Give me some sign.
Later, the poltergeist is shown trying to pull a chair out from under a child. Years later, in an interview, Lorraine Warren said this.
There was a very old tree that was right in front of this house. There was no wind at all, no wind whatsoever, and the tree broke in half.
Number 9. Amityville. In a 2013 interview, Lorraine Warren said that this case haunted her the most. She said, "I will never go in the Amityville house again." In 1974, 20-year-old Ronald J. DeFeo murdered his entire family while they were sleeping. He killed 6 people. These were his 4 siblings and his parents. He said he heard voices that told him to do it. After a year, the house was purchased for $80,000, although the buyers, the Lutz family, stayed just 28 days because of the horror they experienced. George and Kathy Lutz said they saw slime coming out of the walls, knives being thrown from counters, and figures wandering and wailing. George even said he saw his wife levitating and an evil red-eyed pig-like creature glaring at him. Then the family called Ed and Lorraine. In an interview, Ed said,
When we went into the house that day, we didn't realize that it was diabolically infested. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I would have to say that Amityville was a 10.
The Warrens believe it was the house that cursed murderer Ronald, rather than Ronald who cursed the house. Number 8. The Devil Made Me Do It. This all went down in 1981 when Arnie Johnson claimed to have killed his landlord because the devil made him do it. It all started with the possessed 11-year-old David Glatzel. This is where Ed and Lorraine first stepped into the picture. The Warrens were called in to try and rid the boy of the demon along with Catholic priests. They tried doing so over several days, but finally the demon fled into 80-year-old Arnie's body.
He screamed at these devils, "Take me on. Leave my little buddy alone." All he got his wish.
He challenged the
demonic.
A few months later, he killed his landlord in an argument. But his defense lawyer, with the help of Ed and Lorraine, argued that he was possessed.
And Arnie disappeared for a few minutes. When he came back, he was somebody entirely different.
Arnie Johnson served just 5 years in jail. Number 7. The Barley Rectory. According to the demonologists, ghost hunters, and psychics like Ed and Lorraine, the Barley Rectory is the most haunted place in the UK. The building was constructed in Victorian times in Essex, and rumors of its hauntings were rife from the very beginning. Ghost hunters claim the activity is related to a Benedictine monastery built in the area in 1362. A monk was said to have been executed and the nun bricked alive in the walls of a convent after the pair had an affair. In the interview, Lorraine talked about sharing an experience of what happened to the monk.
Something is hitting me. It's hitting me. It's hitting me. And he was absolutely hysterical.
Then she continued by saying,
He said, I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Later, Lorraine said that a recording taken at the church at this moment revealed a woman's voice saying,
hit him, almost in a healing way. And you hear her very gentle voice.
Number 6. The Annabelle Doll. In 1967, Ed and Lorraine were called upon by two young women to deal with an out-of-control doll. The doll then became infamous for being demonically possessed. Annabelle lives in a locked case in the Warrens' occult museum. There isn't any video evidence of the doll being a menace, but things did get pretty scary recently when the doll was moved in a Facebook Live video.
The most diabolical, most haunted, most evil item in the occult museum.
As long as your skin is not going to be in contact with the aura of that doll, which is touching the surface of the doll with your human hands, you don't want to do that.
On hand at the Warrens Museum were Dan Rivera and Tony Sepra, who were handling the move. For their safety, they had to pray.
Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the malice and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who wander through the world to the ruin of souls. Amen. Quickly. Case.
In 2017, a guy touched Annabelle's case and made fun of the doll by telling his friends the doll has no power. Later that night, he was found dead in his apartment. The cause of his death was unknown. Let me know if you think he died because of touching the doll's case. Number 5. The Witch of Harrisville. Some of you may have seen the Conjuring movie, which is a movie based on a house that the Warrens investigated in Rhode Island that was haunted by a witch named Bathsheba Sherman, who cursed the land so that whoever lived on it in the future would die. One of the parent family members, Andrea, discusses her time in the house. She is one of the daughters of the family.
And the door opened to the pantry. And April looked up at my mother and she said, Mommy, something really bad happened in there. Indeed. It's where little Prudence Arnold had her throat cut.
This is what they recorded when they visited Bathsheba's grave.
Kill? Who are you gonna kill?
Number 4. The Anfield Poltergeist. In 1977, Ed and Lorraine traveled to England to investigate the rumored haunted home in North London. The residents recorded sounds that took place in a bedroom after their children had gone to bed. Bear in mind, in the 70s, not a lot of people had video recording equipment.
All the lights got out. Oh. Wait. Where's the light out?
Throw the lamp
On the head.
right way across the room and pull it out of the socket.
We hear screaming and confusion as the lights go out. It seems as if a lamp was pulled out of its socket. Over a period of 18 months, more than 30 people, including neighbors, fellow psychic researchers, and journalists, said that they saw furniture moving of its own accord and objects being thrown across a room. It was even said that one of the children in the house levitated. The movie The Conjuring 2 was inspired by this story. Number 3. White Lady of Union Cemetery. The cemetery is in eastern Connecticut, and the site dates back to the 1700s. The graveyard is haunted by a plethora of ghosts, the White Lady being just one of them. Ed Warren stayed in the place for 7 days for the investigation. After that, in an interview, he said he heard a woman weeping. Then he added, "Shadow ghosts tried to stop the woman getting to me, and it was the photo I took."
Your stereotype ghost right here.
Isn't that beautiful?
The electromagnetic energy taken from the plant life in the cemetery is used by the spirit to form this image.
Number 2. The Ghost Boy. This picture was taken by Ed Warren as he investigated the Amityville house. The picture shows what appears to be a demonic boy. The Warrens suspected it could be the youngest of the Defoe children. The Warrens believe this is one of the most credible pieces of evidence for ghosts ever caught on camera. Before we get to number 1, my name is Mr. Panic, and I hope you're enjoying my narration. Researchers have found a strong link between performing generous acts and personal happiness. So please make sure to subscribe by clicking on the subscribe icon on the bottom left side of the screen for becoming a happier person today. Number 1. The Occult Museum. This is what Lorraine said about the place when she was leading a tour of her home.
You're in probably one of the most haunted places in the world because of the things that are in here. Everything in here has been taken from some place where people are either killed or maimed or so many ways. So it's tragic for me.
She says anyone who has touched anything in this museum has died.
This is the worst thing in here. Is that doll. I'm not gonna stare at it though. So you can take the picture, but I'm not gonna stare at it because that has done bad harm on a lot of people.
A priest circulates the museum daily to bless the space. So, whenever you go to the museum, don't touch anything. Otherwise, no one knows what can happen to you.